We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Beis Amud Beis in Meseches Yevamos. This is Yevamos Daf 32b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara had an apparent contradiction within the sheet of Rabbi Yossi, whether or not Rabbi Yossi says that Isser can be Chal al Isser. And the Gemara now answers, Rabbi Yavo. Rabbi Yavo answers, Mod Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi admits, Isser Mosif, that when you're talking about the Isser that adds something on, so then already we can say Isser is Chal al Isser. As Rashi over here says, Rabbi Yavo, Mod Rabbi Yossi, Isser Mosif, Shu Chal al Isser. In that case, we would say Isser is Chal al Isser. Kagon, Isser Eishes Ach to Mosifu. For example, in the situation of Eishes Ach. So Eishes Ach is adding something on to the situation of Achos Isha. Let's say you have a situation of Achos Isha and Eishes Ach. Shebetchilo Kishenasa Ze'as Achosa. Because in the beginning, when this person married her sister, Vizu Penuya and the other sister was still not married. So Nesra Allah Misham Achos Isha. So then she is usher to him because of Achos Isha. That unmarried sister is usher to him because he's married to her sister. Umuteres l'chol echav, but she's still mutter to all his brothers. It's only to him that it's a problem. Now nizes l'echad mehen. Now once she, the unmarried sister, gets married to one of the other brothers, so Nesra al kulon mishum eishasach. So now you have her usher to all the brothers because of eishasach. Ve'achshav nitosef isser aleh legabe sharachav. That's what it means to be isser mosif. You've added on an isser in terms of other individuals. She's now usher to the other brothers. Umigo dechayel shem eishasach Allah legabe sharachav. Now since the isser of eishasach is chal on her regarding the other brothers, shaisa mutaris lahem, where originally she was mutter to them. So chol nami hashem hazel legabe didei. So this extra isser is chal even in terms of that brother who's married to her sister. V'afagav dasir levakaima. Even though she's already usher to him, we can add on and we can say isser chal al isser. But Rashi contrasts. But let's say you have a situation of a woman who's a married woman, and then it becomes his mother-in-law. So originally she's usher to the whole world because she's a married woman. Now this guy marries her daughter. That is, the fact that he married her daughter doesn't add any isser to this mother-in-law that she's usher to other people now. The name of migo that we should say this kind of migo, that it should be chal. Now in the case of a mother-in-law that becomes an Eishes Ish, Vada Isser Mosifu, that for sure is Isser Mosif. Shemitchila Asura Lazeh Muteres L'chol Olam, because originally she's a mother-in-law, she's only usher to this guy, but not to everybody else. Nasis Eishes Ish, when she becomes an Eishes Ish, Itosef Hai Shem Alo Legabe Kol Yam, and now she's usher to everyone. Umigo Dechayel Alayu Chayel Nami Legabe Dehai. Once that's chal, so once it's chal in that sense to everybody else, it's chal to this guy as well, who she is his mother-in-law. And Rashi continues and says, Rabbi Yossi nidon bechamoso. Now, if they're both chal, so how come Rabbi Yossi says you get the punishment of chamoso? Mishom de misos askinan, because if they're both chal and we're dealing with misa, v'atayachol hamiso bebeis misos. So obviously, you're not going to give two death penalties. So hoel ushtei and olav. So since both are chal, again, the isser is chal al isser. So yodin bechamur. So you're going to get the stricter one. Avalim haya shogeg haya chaya beis chatos. But the point is, if it was shogeg in that particular case, you would be chayav to bring two carbon chatoses. And so what emerges here, according to Rashi, is that according to Rav Yosef, again, Rav Yosef said by that case of Chamoso and Eishes Ish, that you're always going to be judged on the first one of the Isurim that occurred. So the answer is that it works in both directions. Because in a situation where it was Chamoso first and then Eishes Ish, so the Isur Eishes Ish is added on, but it happens to be more lenient. And so therefore you get punished with the punishment of Chamoso, the one that was first. And if Eishes Ish comes first and then comes Chamoso, so in that case Chamoso actually does not get added on because it's not most of anything. So the chamoso is not chal at all, and so you're going to get the punishment of the first one, which is Eishes Ish. You're going to get that punishment, and that's how we understand Rabbi Yossi in that particular case. Again, it comes out that as long as it's Isser Mosif, it can be chal, but if it's not Mosif, then we say Ein Isser Chal Al Isser. And so the Gemara continues, Teina Checha de Nosa Chai v'Achagach Nosa Meis. This all makes sense. This answer that we're giving for Rabbi Yosef, it makes sense in a situation where first the brother who remained alive, he got married first, and then the brother who ended up dying, he gets married second. So then we'll say as follows: Migo di tosef isser legabe achim. So since there's an additional isser, it's an isser mosef because when the brother who dies, when he gets married to the sister, so now she's usher to all of the brothers. It's added on. So therefore, itosef isser legabe didei. So therefore, that isser is also chal legabe the brother who married her sister. Again, the isser is able to be chal. But the Gemara says elahecha de nasa meis. But what about the other way around? In the case where first the brother who died, he gets married first. So you have Eishes Ach first, v'achagach nasa chai, and then the brother who's alive married the sister. So my Yisr Mosefika. So there is no additional Isser over here because already when she got married to the brother who died, she's Asr to all of the brothers. And the Gemara says, and if you're going to say, Migo de Itzar Bekulu Achvasa, maybe what you're going to say is that there is an additional Isser, because now when the living brother marries the sister, he's not only Asr to her, he's Asr to all of his wife's sisters, but Hay Isser Kolalu, that's not actually called an Isser Mosif, that's actually called an Isser Kolel. As Rashi over here explains, and maybe you're going to say that because that later marriage, when he marries her sister, Mitzar Hay Gavra Bekulu Achvasa, so now he's Asr in all of his wife's sisters, Misham Achosisha, because it's the sisters of his wife, because until now the other sisters were permitted. The only thing that was a problem was the woman who married the brother who died, so that's a problem of Eshesach, but the other sisters were permitted until he married the sister. So Itzar Nami Misham Hay Shma Gufei Alad Kamaisa She Eshesach. So then maybe you'll say, since we added on other sisters, so therefore on the woman who's the Eshesach, we add on this Achosisha as well. But again, the Gemara says, Haylav Isser Mosifu. That's not by definition Isser Mosif. To Allah de Kamaisa lo itosef Isser lagabe achrina, because Mosif means to say that you're adding on to the original woman that she's Asr to more people. That's not what's happening over here. El Isser Kolal, this is really Isser Kolal. De Chayalo le Kamaisa b'shem Achosisha migo de Chayla lachosa. Because what we're really saying is that since when he marries the sister, he becomes Asr to all the sisters. So since the other sisters become Asr, so we're going to put this Isser of Achosisha also on the woman who married the brother who would eventually die. As Rashi explains, Isser Mosif Keshisser Mosif al Hachaticha laOsra al Misham Mutaras Olav. Isser Mosif means the person that was originally Asr, you're gonna make her Asr to more people that she was mutter to previously. That's Isser Mosif. Isser Kolal means Sho Isser Chal al Chatichas Acheros, that the Isser is Chal to other individuals. Like in this particular case, when he marries the sister of the wife of the brother who's going to die, when he marries that woman, he becomes Asr to other women. That's a different kind of case. The other sisters. They also go reris lazuimam al yedei migo. So since the other sisters become Asr, then we'll drag along the one who's an Eshesach and say that she also gets that Isser of Achosisha. But the point is that Isser Kolal and Isser Mosif are two different things. And so the Gemara answers, you're right. Elo amar Rava, rather Rava says, Mala ani olav ki'ilu asashtaim. It's really just that we consider it as if he did two Averos, ve'eno chayiv el achas. But really, he's only chayiv one. And as Rashi over here explains, Elo amar Rava liolam les le Rabbi Yossi Isser Chalal Isser. Really, we have to say that Rabbi Yossi does not hold at all of the concept of Isser Chalal Isser. So then what was our original question? V'had kamer le'el, that which we said earlier, chayiv alom mishum eshesach umishum achosisha. Rabbi Yossi said that when you have this woman who's an eshesach and an achosisha, you're chayiv for both. So lav b'shogeg l'chayvo shtei chatos. We're not talking about b'shogeg and your chayiv two carbon chatoses. We're not really saying the Isser is Chalal Isser. Elo b'meizid v'leyasos rasha gamur l'kavro bein risham gemurim. What we're really just saying is that when he does it on purpose, he's considered a Rasha Gomor. It's Mala all of it. It's as if he committed the two atrocities. Shaharasha Nikbar Eitzel Rishoim, because there's a halacha that Rishoim are buried by the other Rishoim. Rashi continues, the Tanan b'Sanhedrin, because we learned in the Mishnah in Sanhedrin, Shtei Kvaros Hayum Sukarin LeBezdin Echad LeNeragel LeNechnokin V'Echad LeNiskolim V'Nisrafin. You had areas of burying those who are killed by Cherev or Chenek, and those who are killed by Skila or Sreifa. V'Hachanami Afagav Dehailam Mechayve Bezdin. In this case also the same thing. Even though this particular individual is not Mechayve Bezdin, Hoel V'Avet Tarti, since he did two things wrong, so Kavrinan Le, Gabi Niskolim V'Nisrafin. We bury him together with those who get Skila and Sreifa, and that's what the Gemara actually means. That's what Rabbi Yossi actually means. He does not mean that Isser is Chalal Isser. And the Gemara continues, V'chein ki asa Ravin amar Rabbi Yochanan. Similarly, when Ravin came, he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Mala ani olav kilu asa beis. We consider like he did these two Averas, Ve'eno chayiv el achas, but really he's only chayiv one. And the Gemara says, my nafkamina, what's the difference? L'kavro bein Rishoim gemurim. Like Rashi said, to bury him amongst the complete total Rishoim. And the Gemara continues with plugsa, and it's in the following same machlokes, the Itmar, because we have the following machlokes amuroim. Zorish Hashimesh b'Shabbos. Let's say you have a person who's not a Kohen, and he serves in the Beis HaMikdash on Shabbos. So over here, how much is this person chayiv? Rabbi Chia Omer chayiv shtayim. Rabbi Chia says he's chayiv two. Bar Kapar Omer ein chayiv elo achas. Bar Kapar says only chayiv one. Kafetz Rabbi Chia v'nishba. So then Rabbi Chia got up and he took the following oath. Ha'avoda, by the service in the Beis HaMikdash, took an oath. Kach shamati me Rebbe, so I heard from Rebbe, shtayim chayiv two. Kafetz Bar Kapara v'nishba. So Bar Kapara got up and he took an oath. Ha'avoda kach shamati me Rebbe, I heard from Rebbe, achas is chayiv one. Hischel Rabbi Chia Ladon. So then Rabbi Chia began to explain his reasoning. Shabbos lakol nesra. Shabbos is also for everyone. Kishutra b'mikdash. And when they allowed Shabbos to bring karbanos in the Beis Hamikdash, Eitzel Kohanim Hutra was only by Kohanim that they allowed it. La Kohanim Hutra v'lo l'zarim. So that means that they're allowing it for Kohanim and not for Zarim, and therefore Yesh kan misham Zaris v'yesh kan misham Shabbos. There's two violations. He's serving in the Beis Hamikdash as a Zar, as a non-Kohen, and also he's serving on Shabbos. And again, there was a heter to serve on Shabbos, but that's only for Kohanim. So Hischel Bar Kapara Lodin. So then Bar Kapara explained his reasoning. Shabbos la kol nesra. Shabbos was really usher to everybody. Kishutra b'mikdash hutra. When it was made mutter in the Beis Hamikdash, so now it's mutter in the Beis Hamikdash. You don't have to worry about violating Shabbos. Ein kana lazara. So all you really have is the isser, or is the prohibition that a non-Kohen cannot serve in the Beis Hamikdash. Similar machlokes balmum shashimesh betuma. Let's say a kohen that's a balmum and he serves in the Beis Hamikdash betuma. Rabbi Chia Omer chayiv shtayim, Bar Kapara Omer chayiv alachas. Rabbi Chia says chayiv 2, Bar Kapara says 1. Kafetz Rabbi Chia v'nishbo havoda kach shamati mi Rabbi Shtayim. Rabbi Chia took an oath. I heard from Rabbi it's 2. Kafetz Bar Kapara v'nishbo havoda kach shamati mi Rabbi Achas. Bar Kapara got up and he took an oath. I heard from Rabbi that it's 1. Hischel Rabbi Chia Ladon Tuma lachol nesra. Rabbi Chia began to explain Tuma is usher to everyone. Kishahutra b'mikdash eitzel kohanim tamimim hutra. When they allowed Tuma in the Beis Hamikdash, they only allowed it by kohanim who don't have blemishes. La kohanim tamimim hutra v'lo la balei mumin. Only for kohanim who don't have blemishes, not for kohanim who do have blemishes. So yesh kan misham balei mumin v'yesh kan misham Tuma. Therefore, there's two violations over here: serving in the Beis Hamikdash with a mum and serving in the Beis Hamikdash in a situation of Tuma. Hischel Bar Kapara Ladon. Then Bar Kapara explained Tuma lakol nesra. Tuma was usher to everybody. Kishutra in cases where they allow it, but mikdash hutras in the Beis Hamikdash. Ein kan elamisham balmum. The only issue is balmum. Similar machlok is zar sha'achal malika. Let's say you have a non-Kohen who eats one of the bird karbanos, which they don't shecht, but instead they do malika. So that's really also only supposed to be only for Kohanim. Rabbi Chia Omer chayiv shtayim, Bar Kapara Omer ein chayiv alachas. Rabbi Chia says you're chayiv 2, Bar Kapara says 1. Kafetz Rabbi Chia v'nishba. So Rabbi Chia swore ha'avoda kach shamati mi Rabbi. Took an oath. I heard from Rabbi shtayim. It's 2. Kafetz Bar Kapara v'nishba ha'avoda kach shamati mi Rabbi Achas. Bar Kapara got up and he took an oath. I heard from Rabbi that it's 1. Hischel Rabbi Chia Ladon, and Rabbi Chia explained nevela lakol nesra. Nevela is also for everybody because this was not shechted properly; it was malika. Kishutra b'mikdash eitzel kohanim hutra. When they allowed in the Beis Hamikdash, it's only by kohanim. La kohanim hutra v'lo lazarim. Not for kohanim, yes, not for zarim. Yesh kan misham zaros v'yesh kan misham malika. You have two prohibitions over here: the fact that he's not a kohen, the fact that it's malika. And the Gemara continues. Hischel Bar Kapara Ladon. Bar Kapara explained his reasoning. Nevela lakol nesra. Nevela is also for everybody. Kishutra b'mikdash hutra. When it was allowed in the Beis Hamikdash. Ein kan ela misham zaris. The only issue is the fact that he's not a Kohen. And we'll take a look at Rashi over here. Shashimesh betuma. When are you allowed to serve in Tum in the Beis Hamikdash? Bekarban sibur kamra. We're talking about a situation where it's a public karban shedocha Tuma, which pushes off Tuma. V'chein zar shashimesh b'Shabbos. Same thing by Shabbos. V'yesh kan misham Tuma ve'azarase mi v'yinazru mikad shebnei Yisrael v'lo yichalu. You have a situation over here again. There's a prohibition of Tuma if it's not pushed off. And eitzel tamimim hutra. It's only allowed by those who do not have blemishes. The ru'uyim lavo, those are the ones that can serve in the Beis Hamikdash. The alfina b'moado, afilu b'tumah. In other words, when they allowed you to serve b'tumah, that was only by tamimim who can serve in the Beis Hamikdash. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph.